Welcome to the Main Basketball Rankings podcast. I am your host, basketball data nerd, Lucas McNelly. Well, we made it through the first weekend of the season. Some upsets, some surprises, some big performances, a lot of stuff going on. Pretty much everyone has gotten a game in the books. Most teams have gotten a game in the books, I believe. And I was going to do a much longer intro to this, but if you've looked at your podcast app or wherever you're watching this, you have noticed the running time, and it is very long. And so you don't need me to belabor the point about that and ramble on for an extra 20 minutes. So we'll make this very quickly. Make this very quick. So Jay Baines is here to talk about schedules and then other things. I wanted to add one thing that didn't get in the schedule discussion. Is that I was going to go to the Spruce Mountain girls game at Halldale on Saturday, which was scheduled for 6:30. And then I was starting to think about getting ready around like 4 or whatever, and someone messages me the score. And I was like, well, that's interesting. The game's over. They moved the game up to 1:30. There's nothing on the Halldale Boosters Facebook page about this. I didn't see it on Twitter. None of the usual places you would find it, but I almost drove to Halldale for nothing. And we need to be better about this. This is not complicated. This is 2024. This is not 1984 where you've got to tell the newspaper of things and wait for the newspaper to come out. You've got Facebook pages. You've got everything. And I assume a bunch of people did find out, but I didn't. And I almost drove to Halldale for nothing. So not great. Just really not great. Yeah, I don't know. It's, you shouldn't have to be on Team Reach to know that the schedule has changed, is all I'm saying, because it was still on Varsity Main site at 6:30, and it was still in all the places where it needs to be as 6:30. And at the same time, Central and George Stevens were playing. They had rescheduled their game from Friday to Saturday, and no one could figure out when that game was going to happen. So, again, 2024, lots of digital options for these things. So the conversation with Jay, we were going to talk about scheduling, and then it went very quickly off the rails. We started talking about the Bangor Auditorium a bunch of different stuff. A lot of fun. We talked about officiating and almost everything. So there is, though, a very interesting idea embedded in this, in that each team, in addition to their normal jerseys, should have a City Connect jersey that highlights something about that town. The example I brought up is you have, for where I live, for Madomic Valley, it could be a Moody's Diner themed jersey, and then this money could, finance everything because you sell these jerseys. It'd be great. So what I need you to do is, if you're on something that can comment, I need you to comment with what would be in your school's City Connect jersey, or just send it, post it on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. Because I really think these would be awesome, and I don't think it's going to actually happen. But it would be really awesome, and I would love the idea of what's in all of these different City Connect jerseys that we could theoretically wear. And if anyone's a good graphic designer and is bored, or if anyone has a graphic design class at their school and you want to give them a project that's kind of fun, this could be a very fun project. Okay, with that being said, let's go to my conversation with Jay Baines. Okay, my guest today, you know him from either, being a soccer referee, or doing the brackets for the tournament that are really good, or conducting band, or 800 other things. Jay Baines is here.
Hey, Lucas. Yeah, 800 other
going?
things might be an understatement, but it's good. It's basketball season.
It's
Can we
basketball
complain?
season, and you're always doing something different, and I'm always confused, but hey.
Yeah, well, no, we talked off air right before. It's just like, well, you're on the road. I'm like, yeah, for my day job that no one knows about.
One of those.
So, yeah, whatever. It's okay.
Yeah, they're super fun.
I know.
You got to pay the bills somehow.
Yeah.
All right, so the first thing is, you decided this year, and God knows why, to compile all the schedules at the beginning of the season because you're insane.
Yep.
And my first question is, why would you do that?
Well, it's not just a this year thing. This is the first year that I actually shared it with you because I realized we were doing all the same work. No, it probably started 7 or 8 years ago. Like all of this started. We didn't like how people did something, so I did it myself. But now I share. It's like the brackets. I didn't like what the MPA was posting. Oh, I can do that myself. Oh wait, maybe I
hard
should
could that
share
be?
this with people. Yeah.
Instead of putting all
So
this work in for yourself.
I know. No, I think it was the old Heel Point site, which I was a big fan of, by the way. Okay,
Yeah.
because it worked, even though it looked like it was from Windows 95.
I think it was from
Um,
Windows 95.
but it worked. So if you knew how to
Yeah.
find the master schedule through that,
Oh, I loved that master schedule.
yeah. So basically, I took that and broke all the merged, cells and everything, and built my own master spreadsheet, and just kept it for myself because I was
Hmm.
just like, "Where am I going tonight?" This is before we really uh, kind of kicked off Ticket TV, and that took most of my
Right.
nights in each respective gym. But yeah, it was basically a whole thing. Where am I going tonight? And then using your site, where's the best game? And this is
Hmm.
I want to say it's around the same time that Sean Stackhouse, God love him, drove up to Easton on a Tuesday to go up to the barn. It's probably around that same time. So
Yeah.
it's
And that game
you
turned out to
know
be a bust, I think.
probably like most. Well, we say that, but we'll just make the excuse that it was early, so we don't know
Yeah.
anything yet. The
We
model's
don't know
broken.
anything. It's
Yeah,
broken. Yeah. It doesn't know that Bailey
yeah,
Brain is gone. It's
no,
like, yeah,
or
Oceanside's
Grace
ranked second right
Jaffray,
now.
or
Yeah.
yeah.
Although that doesn't seem to be hurting them very much.
No, well, yes and no. So, I mean, if we want to go back to that, so if those who don't know, I'm a part-time band director at Old Town. So my job specifically at Old Town is I cover games. We
Hmm.
jokingly call it director of athletic bands because it sounds way more sophisticated than it actually is,
Yeah.
and
It does
I'm
sound
really really
sophisticated.
good at that. So, Thursday, when I got the initial schedule, I see that on the schedule. First off, I'm seeing, okay, does opening night start on a Thursday now?
And teams
Um,
were actually doing it.
yeah. And then I realized, oh, the Ellsworth girls, who got upset in the regional final by Old Town, because Sage Evans had 72 points and 57 rebounds in that game. Yeah, they're going to come into Mackenzie Gym and open that night. Like, okay, let's see what happens there. And then, of course, OT, I think it was either 11 or 13 nothing run to start. And
They were
just
up 11-0.
defensively,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's like, what is going on? It's like Bizarre World all over again. Um, and then, of course, you losing Jaffray obviously is a big piece, but they have so many pieces around there. I know Atherton's hurt. She'll be probably back. I think the hope
Oh, is she
maybe
coming
for
back?
that late December. I think the hope is maybe for that Caribou Prescal weekend right before
Okay.
Christmas. They have Caribou, I want to say the 21st,
I thought she was
the
out for
first.
the year.
No, that's Sid Mason, super sophomore guard. Yeah, just really got a feel for her.
Hold on one second. What's up, buddy? Sorry about that.
No, that's
We
good.
can't find the correct cat.
Oh, that's too bad.
It's
I
tragedy.
unfortunately cannot help you with that matter as much as I
Yeah.
wish I could.
Do you not know where Miss Margot is?
And I do not know. I
Oh,
put
that's a
up some
shame.
feelers, see what my sources are, and I'll get
Call some
back to you on
people.
that. Yeah.
All right.
No, but I mean, getting back to that, and um, what I observed, especially Thursday with that Ellsworth Old Town game, is I saw a lot of Old Town players who practice every day with a really, really good, 5-on-5 against those seniors that graduated last year, and
Hmm.
you know, you can see the difference. Honestly, of course, Loring is not 100% because she tore, with a knee injury in the semifinal against MDI, which they had another player out, and they actually only went 5 deep in the second half of that game, so they had no room for error, and they only went
Jeez.
6 deep in the regional final, the state final. But a lot of those players returning, who were on varsity last year, now they're getting their minutes, and it's really showing because I mean they're going to play great defense. The Big
Hmm.
East is such, probably both on the boys and girls side. Beyond that, like top two, it's every given night, and it's just going to be a meat
Hmm.
grinder. uh,
Yeah.
both boys and girls. And the Old Town girls, they're probably not going to let up more than 45 points a game on any given day. That 45 is probably the magic number for them. But they play hard. They had a good win at hosting Prescal yesterday,
Yeah.
and we'll see. They're not as down as people think, and I will set aside the rest of my biases with that. So,
Well, they seem like they're one of those programs that down for them is very relative to what would be down for anybody else.
right. And you have a team that, both teams, um, past 5 years, they've both been semifinal teams. I mean, it's,
Right.
that's kind of the new normal. And you might think maybe historically for an old town, when was the last time both teams were good? You got to go back to the 90s, probably.
Wow.
But they were Class A. It's probably a different school.
Yep.
We were joking. I was talking about it with my principal yesterday. We have what they consider the first team now. What was the freshman team equivalent?
The freshman.
Yeah, so we have that on the boys' side for the first time probably about 20 years. And when you think
Really?
about that, that's probably the first time since the mill closed.
Mm.
So, and obviously there's budgetary factors associated with that as well. But you look 20 years ago, this was a school. It wasn't a Class A school that played up. It was a Class A school.
Legit Class A school.
Class A school. 730, 740. And then after the
And they're in
mill,
the 400s now, right?
we're about 535,
Okay.
ish. We're a big B. I was worried last spring where that number was going to come in, just because it was, I think at that point it might have been closer to 550, and that's on the cusp of A versus B if we stay in 5 classes, which I don't think is going to happen, but that's just my speculation.
Oh, I heard we are.
We are staying with 5.
That's what I heard, but
so
you never know.
Then maybe I'm a little more nervous.
The reason I heard was that they can't lose the ticket sales from the 5th tournament.
Yep.
Because they need those ticket sales to finance field hockey and everything else.
So, I mean, I haven't heard anything, otherwise. I know the SMAA might have had a vote in support of going to 4 classes, because I think that fifth class kind of affects them probably the most, more than anyone else, just because those smaller schools in that league, kind of a fractured schedule in A South, which is a mishmash of teams and has been for almost 10 years now.
It's a weird collection in A South.
Right, which goes back to schedules, and then you're trying to figure out who played who, because when I'm going through these schedules, and it's a lot of copy and paste, honestly, and then what's not in the MPA site, you have to figure out where schools share them. Usually, it's a infographic on Facebook.
Yep.
Or
more of those
something.
This year.
Yeah, more of those, or it's hidden in their Google Calendar of their school website. So it's either one or the other. Or you're Brewer and you just have your perfect website when everything's right there. So
God, I love that website.
It's utter.
And then you go to like Jonesport Beals'
awesome
website and you're like, what is happening here? This is a disaster.
Couple more kids at Brewer, just a couple.
More, yeah.
But then
Websites
usually no, but usually you can figure out if you're missing a game or two, because even going from 4 to 5 classes or historically through decades, you can kind of figure out who plays who, unless you're Wiscasset and you're playing Morse and Sockabee Valley.
Does anyone have any idea what's going on there?
No.
I gotta.
No, you're closer than
Morse.
me.
I know.
You're
know
closer
their AD.
than me.
I should contact their AD and be like, what is this? Did you lose?
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a KVAC East-West Conference crossover game ever. Maybe we need a challenge, like the old ACC Big Ten challenge. We need a KVAC.
That would be good.
Yeah, and do it at the Civic Center. I want to see a doubleheader between Forest Hills and Lawrence. And just see what happens.
I want to see those parent sections go after each other. That's what I want to see.
Or play it at KVCC, or just right there.
Yeah, that would be great.
Or even better, just have the Jackman. Just have the Jackman fans go to Lawrence in that gym.
Yeah.
My gosh. That'd be worth it.
That would be great.
Awesome.
Is it possible that Wiscasset or Morse finished last in their fantasy football league, and this is the penalty?
I don't know.
That's
a great question.
That's a theory.
But I think when you look at it, you look at a Morse program that's been down recently. I think that's also a test. Even 5 years ago, you played within your class, you played within your league. And Morris was playing a KVAC schedule, primarily, actually probably a North schedule more than anything else,
Yeah.
because they were one of the 3 or 4 KVAC schools in the South before they kind of broke that off. And you look at Brunswick. Brunswick's playing mostly Western Maine Conference schools traditionally now.
Yeah.
Or the smallest schools in the SMAA. But it's interesting, to look through and figure out, one, why aren't schools playing 9 schools twice?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, very few schools do that. I know there's a lot of considerations now, and you want to see more schools that you could potentially see in the tournament.
Right.
But around here, you know, right here where I live, which isn't right here right now,
Right.
in the Bangor area, primarily you look at the Big East schedule, and the boys is a little different because there's 12 teams. There's only 10 on the girls' side because Ordo and Bucksport play down to C on the girls' side, which is also
Mm-hmm.
something I still haven't gotten used to.
I'm not used to that yet either.
Yeah, it's
I like it. I
some
think it was a
schools.
great idea.
Yeah, and I agree with that. It's just having schools, in different classes, and I can only imagine, the hassle trying to build different
Oh
schedules.
yeah.
Um,
And the Big East is a
but
closed schedule, right?
primarily it's closed with an asterisk because there are some Class C crossovers. Um, for example, one that comes to mind, Caribou still plays Fort Kent.
Mm-hmm.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
It saves a trip downstate, as they call it, which I found really amusing. Because we don't say we go upstate. No, we go to the county.
Just go plain north.
Yeah. And WA probably has 4 to 6. I haven't looked specifically. I should probably
Their
look that up
schedule's
right
weird.
now.
They play Mount View sometimes. I don't know if they're playing him this year. That's a
I
drive.
don't think they have this year because there were Big East KVAC crossovers up until I want to say last year,
Okay.
in which I want to say every Big East school had, want to say 2 games, maybe not the county schools.
Yeah, because that's a hike for
But
those guys. But
let
Caribou
me
doesn't
look
want to go
up.
down and play Mount View or Erskine or something.
No, and it's funny, with Caribou, and it's funny when you also compare it to different sports. In the PVC, in soccer, baseball, softball, there's only 7 Class B schools. That's only 12 games.
Yeah,
So
so you got
soccer
to
had
play
to
out
get
class.
creative. Whether it's they're playing Fort Kent or Holton up in the county, there are a lot more Class A B crossovers locally in soccer, baseball, softball the past couple years, which I find a lot more attractive.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly
And in
because I went to a
baseball, you
Class
can
A.
get a double header, so that helps too.
Well, not only that, but I'm just saying, when you're looking at historically where the points are coming, you know, would you rather play? I'll give an example. Uh, uh, Game that we covered on the ticket
Mm-hmm.
last spring. Ellsworth came to Bangor for baseball, and that they probably hadn't played. I want to say 25, 30 years or something like that.
Wow.
Um, it was great. I think when 9 innings, Ellsworth won it. There were a lot of those AB crossovers where the Class B teams won, and they get the points, and you're keeping
Yeah.
those points on your schedule, especially in a sport like baseball, where it's more like how it was in B North in basketball, where you had that Big East KVAC jockeying, and it was
Mm-hmm.
split.
Back in the
So
4-class systems.
back in the 4-class system, how did this
That's
website
how I
start?
started doing this. Yeah, that's how I started
Exactly.
doing it. Can Madama and
Why is Old
Oceanside
Town the
and
one? Yeah.
why is Old Town the one? Can Gardner beat Presque Isle? All that
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Here's a question. Why do you think they're more likely to play a crossover like an Ellsworth Bangor in baseball than they are? Because if you propose that in basketball, you would have a riot on your hands.
I think it ultimately has to do with where there's the amount of teams in Class B, and I'm talking Class B primarily.
Hmm.
Just one, it's the school I work at. It also involves the school I went to,
Right.
and it's also the schools we cover the most
So it
with
sticks
our
in your head.
schedule. So it sticks in my head. I think it ultimately has to come to the amount of schools they have to fill out a schedule within a class, and then go outside of that. When you have
Okay.
12 teams, in the Big East for boys basketball, you can close that schedule really, really easily.
Mm.
On the girls' side, there's 10, and I want to say 6 of those 10, they just play the other 9 schools twice.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's virtually a closed schedule in that regard. So and maybe as things change and as things evolve, where the needs are ultimately, do the Class A schools need to play a B? Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, Brewer and Hamden are playing Oceanside this year, so
Yeah.
which
Well,
of
Oceanside's
course
all upset about their schedule. So
yeah. Do you have any intellect on that, or what
I've
happened there?
I've had some parents have been complaining. The rumor I heard, and this is completely rumor,
Yeah.
is that Oceanside got a tougher schedule partly because of Bailey Breen and because they've played like the softest schedule of anybody for a very long time. And they thought, hey, let's do a tougher schedule for this. And then Bailey Breen left, and they're like, oh, wait, we still have this hard schedule. That's the rumor I've heard.
Well, we got to be really careful with Oceanside rumors, Lucas.
We do. We do
It
have to
might
be
end up on
careful.
Instagram.
And
You
it'll be
never
really
know.
bad.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And then we'll have Twitter beefs if it doesn't die. Uh, which,
I
yeah,
think it's
we'll see.
dying.
It
I
is.
think it's dying. Yeah.
It is.
So yeah, so what would happen every year with Oceanside is they would play this really soft schedule, especially like the first 5 games. They would somehow manage to play like Belfast 3 times in 5 games. At like
Hmm.
Belfast and whoever the worst team in the KVAC is always seem to be in their first 5 games in the schedule.
Yep.
So they would win all those games by 50. And they would complain that they weren't ranked very high. They're like, we're beating everybody by 50. I'm like, but look who you're beating by 50. You haven't played anybody.
Hmm.
And then they would get into the harder part of their schedule and they would start losing games and they would stop complaining. Except for last year when they didn't lose any games at all.
Right.
So this year their schedule's a lot tougher. They started with Coney. They've got Madomic on Tuesday, which should be fun.
Hmm.
And we're gonna see. I think they'll be fine. I think the girls only had
What
3 players score against Coney, which would worry me more than anything.
was it? Nine or 10 on the roster?
It's I heard it's
I
down to
should know
8.
this. My cousin's on the team, so
Oh, there you go.
yeah.
I heard they had
Yeah.
8 healthy players for Coney,
Okay.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
Coming off a gold ball, you know?
Well, I mean, uh, I think we've seen it 2 ways. We've seen, success breed numbers coming up through, but we've also seen success discourage kids from playing because they
Mm,
don't see the opportunity, and maybe
right.
they quit too quickly, or
Or I'm
another
not going to get
thing.
minutes, so
Right.
why go out to sit on the bench?
Well, exactly. I mean, girls' numbers at Old Town, I think there's 21, 22 in the program. That's up from 15, 16 last year. And, I think they only have one girl swinging down to play JV, but, I think they dressed 10 or 11 yesterday.
Well, part of my
Prescott
theory
came
on
down.
this, especially for girls, is I think Oceanside is working on their cheerleading program and like building it up.
Hmm.
And I have a working theory that a good cheerleading program is bad for the basketball team
Okay.
because you get some athletes there
Oh,
and they're long and they have long arms and they're tall
right.
and that might take a kid out of your rotation. It's going to take some of your organizational depth, stuff like that.
Yeah.
My working theory is that if this cheerleading squad is good, it tends to be a negative thing for the girls basketball team.
Well, I mean, look at Madomic. I mean,
Hmm.
historically, I mean, that was, I couldn't tell you quite maybe recently,
They've won a
but
lot of cheerleading stuff. Yeah.
yeah.
And
But
their
that
basketball
girls
team's been
program,
good.
like,
So,
right. I mean, your brother's teams were good, competitive.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, they
so
ran into some buzzsaws in the tournament. They kept seeming to get in the first round. Like, oh, it's Lizzie Gruber, great.
Right.
This is fun. We get the Mesolonsky team that's got just a juggernaut.
Yeah.
Good times.
What? How long was he there? When did he start
He
there?
was there, I want to say 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
Seven, yeah, something
So I
like that.
remember
He had to
one
coach.
year.
He won 70
Uh,
games,
okay.
so probably
I
7 years.
remember one year. It might have been before he got there. They did make a regional final.
They've made one regional final.
Okay, that was 11. I think they lost in Nokomis.
Something like that.
Yeah, I was at the auditorium. That's the only
I
reason
think
why I
I was
remember it.
not here for that. I was living away, I think, for
Okay.
that. Because I would remember.
Yeah, I was like, there was a couple years around the turn of the decade, when Nokomis won a couple. I don't think they won a gold. They didn't win a gold ball, but they won a couple. And then, yeah, no, those were the years where it was like Nokomis and Prescal always finished 18-0, but they always matched up in the semis. So one of them went through, and then I want to say one year, eventually, they finally met a regional final, and Prescal won both, or something like that. So like the last couple of years of the auditorium,
Right.
which was the greatest, worst place in the world.
It was amazing.
It was yeah.
Someone rich
Yeah.
should rebuild it.
Let's pick a different roof. Probably one that doesn't leak or is inverted in the winter. I just love the idea of it was a building like 300 feet long, 120 feet wide, and let's have all the snow meet in the middle in February. Okay? And let's see what
how many
happens.
rows of seats there were in that place.
I know. Well, and it was funny because, they couldn't even pull out all the bleachers.
Yeah.
So, and those were still, even not pulling them out, you still had like 15, 16 deep just on the floor. Like the good seats were bleachers, and then you had, actual chairbacks the rest of the way. So like the whole thing was just antiquated, but it was the greatest place in the world.
It went up so high. I remember sitting up in a game like near the top, and I'm like, I
Yep.
can barely see the floor.
I remember early when Dad started with Maine Public, which I think like 02-ish or whatever.
Okay.
We went to the whole quarterfinal round, and we sat that second level right on the rail the whole week. And I swear to God, that is the only being there for those like 4 days of the quarterfinals. The reason why is I never even wanted a single popcorn bag from that building ever again, because I'm pretty sure that's all I ate, and then I got sick of it, and I never wanted to eat it ever again. Okay, but I was 6, and the world was the greatest. It was the best.
That would be awesome.
And we grew up, I grew up in Hamden, but I'm on the north. We grew up in the north side of Hamden. I was only a mile from the auditorium. So it's just like, yeah. So we would just go like that Friday at 3, that first week, boom. I don't care if it's John Bapp's Camden Hills boys and Camden's going to win by 90. Nope, we're there. No, we're just going to stay there the whole week. And then my 4th grade year, so the last year the A's were up there when Hamden won it, when you're in 4th grade, you're 9, 10 years old. That's like the greatest, thing in the world. Yeah.
And your dad probably let you just run around. And
no, so I don't remember going, because Hamden was the 9 seed that year. They were 14-4. Okay, a 9 seed. It was the last year of the Big East in Class A. The Big East had to play each other 3 times to fill out the schedule.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, yeah. And they had to go to Mount Blue, win a prelim, and then they got number 1 Bangor, who they lost to 3 times, and then finally got them the 4th time.
Wow.
And I want to say the other quarterfinal on that side of the bracket was like 12th seeded Brewer and 13th seeded like Levitt, or something really stupid. So I think it ended up being like a 9
2 prelim upsets.
2 prelim upsets, okay, because there was like 29 teams in Class A at that point, or whatever, something ridiculous. I mean, do the math, but because Hamden, I remember the semi. Hamden was the home team as the 9 seed, because I remember being on that side. That's the only reason why I remember it.
Huh.
And then they beat Oxford Hills. I think it got snowed out. Something weird happened. It was a Monday night. They got snowed out. They beat Oxford Hills in the Eastern Maine final, and I'm sitting at the table with Dad, and so you have the bleachers and
Like the
Hamden, the
scorer's
student
table?
section, not the scores table, the press table.
The press table, okay.
So, but because it's one, not during vacation, and two, it's a big school. The student section took up half of those bleachers, pretty much all the way, to midcourt. And when that buzzer rang, everyone's just jumping. I swear, Dad threw me under the table just to save me. Okay, and it was probably the most unsafe, probably situation that you could put a 9-year-old boy in, but it was
Yeah,
awesome, just
sure.
awesome. It was great. I remember stupid things I remember because this whole thing is just a really weird obsession. High school
It's a
basketball
very
in the
weird
state.
obsession. Yeah.
I know, but it's okay. Good thing you have a
See, we
podcast
wouldn't
for it.
go. We wouldn't go for the whole day because I grew up like 2 hours from Bangor,
Yeah.
and so that's just a hike, So
Mhm.
we would only go up if Madomic was playing, and maybe go up for like the game before or something like
Right.
that.
No, we would.
So
My mother wanted me out of the house.
that's
Just
fair.
go with your father. Go to the auditorium.
That's fair. If he's working, and so that, but at some
Yep.
point you're just wandering around, and everyone's like, "Oh, there's Jay. Yeah, he's just
Yeah,
here."
I never had a badge. I was just
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
I'd go through the back door, and the guy would ask you, where have you been? Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. We had practice.
Yep.
Now I'm here.
Yep.
Thank you. No, like stupid things I remember. Like I might have been the same night. I think it was probably Coney Skowhegan girls game. Skowhegan kid had an air horn, and all the guys in the yellow polos, this quote unquote security, just going up and down. All the MPA suits. Probably Peter Webb involved in that as well. They're trying to find the air
Oh,
horn,
probably.
and they started a "You can't find it" chant.
It's probably getting passed around.
It's getting passed around, and I just remember the end of the game, like that last 10 seconds, the kid just held it up and just blew it and just sprinted out of that building. It was just awesome.
That's amazing.
You would get but you would get the back and forth because they were across from each other at the auditorium.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it was like John Bapst and Presque Isle. Bapst was chanting things like "pick potatoes," like SAT scores, and they would just go back and no, it was Bangor and Chevrolet.
Okay.
Okay, and Baldacci just walked in. Okay, and the Bangor
Governor
student
Baldacci.
section, yeah, Governor Baldacci just walked
Okay.
in, and the Bangor student section chanted, "We have the governor." Chevrolet responded with, "We have Jesus."
I was at a Madomic Bangor regional final, and so Madomic Bangor regional final. Dale Landreth, who played for Camden, comes
Yep.
in a Bangor shirt.
Okay.
Sits in the middle of the Bangor cheering student section, and the Madomic fans start chanting, "Landreth, Landreth, you suck," and proceeded to do that for the entire game. And he's just standing up like, "Bring it, bring it."
Yep, that's awesome. Oh
amazing.
my god, we would. So, just the way that the schedules worked out in high school, for whatever reason, we would be off the night of Bangor Brewer, and we thought it'd be a great idea. We would always join the Brewer student section. Okay, for whatever reason, I don't know why.
You're in school. This
but,
seems like a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? It's fun. So they didn't get. I think we stopped doing that. We just wore our warm-ups. So you have all these, gyms filled with black and orange and red, and you have this big blotch of purple in the middle, and it's stuff like that. And no, I just say, I'm happy we give these kids the opportunity to just be kids and just have fun with it. I think there was a time where schools might have discouraged that a little bit more. I think you can do that in a friendly manner and not be stupid.
Yeah, I think we're just having fun. I worry that we've pushed into sportsmanship a little too far, and there's less of the chanting and heckling that there was when we were kids. And now I sound like an old man, but I feel like it's a little politer with some of the student sections, and I'm like, guys, this is just fun. Like, this isn't malicious in any way.
No, and I think sometimes we just it got to the point where it's like we can't. And maybe I'm misremembering things when back in my day when I was a youngin, where we weren't allowed to do anything. But at least the kids are more creative now, and
They're
as
very
long as you're
creative.
not
Yeah.
disrespectful to the opponent, I mean,
Mhm.
you can be smart and cheer for your team.
Yeah.
And really get into it, because I think in the grand scheme of things, when you have, it's a cold, Thursday night in the middle of January, and you have 100 kids at school at 7 o'clock at night, that's probably one of the safest places they could be.
That's
In all
definitely
honesty,
the
that
safest place
sense of
they could be.
community, the sense of community which we've lost a lot post pandemic or through
Mhm.
the pandemic, the kids have really rallied around that. Um, I'm grateful for uh, the kids at our school who aren't in band. I'm very specific saying, well, the band and the student section. I'm like, no, 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 no. The band's part of the student section. You
Yeah.
have the band and those not in band. So, and I try to be really, specific with that. One of the things last year I said, at football, we had the band more in the middle and the students were on the end. And I'm like, no, we're changing that. The band and the students have to be all together in front of the cheerleaders,
Mhm.
keep the kids together, and just let
Yep.
them have their time. Because I think it creates more of a social divide that I knew I didn't like when I was a kid. Um, Being one of the kids who does everything, a lot of my
Mhm.
students unfortunately do everything. Um, half my, we have 66 kids in the music program. Literally 33,
Wow.
half of them do a winter sport,
Wow.
and that causes some scheduling. 15 do indoor track. Imagine trying to do, a game when you got sickness going around. 15 of them are
Mhm.
over at the field house running indoor track, and oh, it's opening night against Ellsworth. Oh, I got to have the band there. So it causes. I would never discourage kids to not do anything, but it's
Right.
we want to give them the opportunity to do everything they can and be successful at it. So it's there's some logistical challenges with that, but you know,
Yeah. I mean,
I
I went
mean,
to.
look, I think a third of my band is in ROTC, which is
Oh, really? That's
yeah,
weird. That's not a
yeah. It's
combination you think of normally.
I, I wouldn't think of initially, but I didn't go to a school with a ROTC program.
Yeah, I didn't
So
either.
we have a very strong JROTC program in Old Town, and a lot of the kids. And if you meet the kids and um, their level of one academically, discipline, respect, clearly it does
Yeah. All
wonders.
right.
And
I could see that.
we're just the beneficiaries of that.
Yeah, I mean, I was at Belfast on Friday. Yeah, Friday,
Hmm.
and their student section. I've been there a couple times where it's been dead, and their
Hmm.
student section was out in force. It was a packed house, and it was really heartening to see.
Yeah, and I get comments from other schools saying it's like, wow, actually it was from Kayla and Bailey after the state game last year.
Hmm.
And they were just like, okay, how do we get one of those? I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, how do we get that band and that level of student section
Yeah, yeah,
and
that
just
was
the
pretty
cheerleaders?
impressive.
So, and it's like, it's just for us, it's our normal. And
Yeah, it's just gotta build it up.
I ham up the crowd participation aspect of it. Um, you know, the commoner loves drums, and I'm a percussionist, and I lean into that probably a little too much. Actually, it was funny on Thursday. Uh, I always go over to the visiting team to let them know kind of the sequence of run on and stuff like that. So go let the Ellsworth girls. I'm like, okay, you're gonna hear the drum start. I'm gonna point to you. You run out, then we run out. It's fine. They're like, any
Hmm.
questions? Like, yeah, is the drummer guy here? And I'm like, oh, I know what you mean. So it's this drum cadence that I, it I think half the high schools in the country actually do it. But
Right.
there's this big quad sextuplet quad solo that people just freak out about. Um, and they ask, I'm like, oh yeah. And I've been trying to kind of set it aside because we started to overplay it, and
Hmm.
um, and I actually kind of want to write a new one. That's
But you
pretty
gotta play the
much my.
hits, man.
You got to play that. That we're really good at playing the hits.
Like if you go see the Violent Femmes, they gotta play "Blister in the Sun." That's
We
not
got to play.
optional.
We got to play the hits. We've done. We've done a fall pep rally, 3 football games, because we got rained out of the homecoming football game that we actually had to move to another school. At one basketball game, we've played in a parade. We've played our school song 52 times this year.
Oh my gosh. What is as a band person, what is your
Yeah.
opinion of the schools that that their band is like a 3-piece, 2 guitars, and a drum kit, and it's like, this is just a punk band that is just playing at the tournament?
I like it. I mean, it's not my style, but I'd rather
Right.
have something there than nothing. Now,
Yeah.
like if Mesolonsky got a singer, that would be even better. Okay. NYA had something like that.
I think
I never
Machias did
saw
too.
Machia. No, Shed. It was Shed.
Was it Shed? Okay.
Yeah, I think
Someone,
it was
there
Shed.
was like an Instagram thing that went around of like, we drove 2 hours for this prelim game and there's a rock band playing.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I think Holton does maybe one game where I think they have like a modern band class and then just let the kids jam out at one game. And Holton is a great music program. They've always had a great music
Yeah.
program up there. What's also fortunate with our league is we got a lot of similar schools who have good bands.
There are way more bands up there.
Yeah, I think it just has to do with the culture. Everything's more community based.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more, I want to say, legacy students, kids whose parents went to that school, and that's just
Right.
that tradition. Of course, the downside is, I'll go to a game, and there's no band. Like we do 4 boys, 4 girls, and we always did one hockey game. Now we do 2 hockey games because we have now 2 hockey teams. And I asked them, it's like, hey, which hockey game we do? Oh, whichever one you want. And it's like, no, which team? And they're like, oh, we didn't think of that one. So so we're doing one of each, even though both are co-ops.
If you
But
go
anyway,
to the
like
expo, there's no bands.
I know, like maybe Lake Region, and that's it.
I think Lake Region. There's somebody,
Yeah,
like one team brought a band, I think.
yeah, and and then in Bangor, it's considered wrong if you don't have a band.
Yeah.
Um, and we play, I think we ask a lot of our kids. I think we're up to 34, 35 events through everything with concerts, festivals, throughout the school year. So to ask them to do anything more than that is a lot. I know some schools, they might be playing 12 to 14 basketball games. Um, and then a handful more hockey games, stuff like that. I think we're right at the limit, looking at our
Mm-hmm.
schedule and just trying to balance that out. But even with that, and I know it's kind of tongue in cheek, and it's a comment saying because they want us there. But out last weekend we had our alumni games, and I got asked, "Where's the band?" It is the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and one of the person who asked me was the referee. And I'm like, come on. I'm like, you are a school administrator. I think you can understand this. But I swear people ask me just to tick me off.
That's probably part of it. But it's always
Yeah,
fun when the referee's asking that question.
I know. It's just like, where's your band? It's like, oh, well, sorry, vacation-ish, kind of. Like, yeah, we didn't have the band there yesterday. So it's funny. So we have a strange arrangement where I'm doing PA for most of
Mm-hmm.
the non-band games. So it's either I have the band there or I'm on the microphone. And then when I'm not on the microphone, our principal's doing PA. So it's but I think it's for both of us, it's like we like to have things to do when we're there, if we're
Yeah.
going to be there.
You don't want to just go
So
and stand there?
no, sit amongst, no, not really my thing.
Sitting in
I
the
like to have a
cheering
job.
section is, yeah, it gets sketchy.
Yeah. Even just sitting in the corner, with a folding chair, that's I gotta stay
Yeah,
busy.
I was at the Belfast Madonna game and I brought my iPad and I did stats and I was like, is this the best use of my time? Do I want to do stats? Do I want to like stand on the end line and like shoot a little bit of video with my phone?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. I might just, but it feels it's the same thing. If like, if I'm not doing something,
Right.
then I'm like, what am I doing here? My brother at one point goes, you just like can't do a game without the app running, can you?
I
It's like,
can't sit
yeah.
still.
I was like, I
I'm
kind
at
of
the point.
lose focus.
Like November, like when soccer season ends. Like, what am I doing? What do you mean I'm going to go home and then sit at home from 4 o'clock until I go to bed?
Yeah.
Like, well, I need something to do. I did 78 soccer games this fall.
That's nuts. That seems
That's
like a
in
lot.
9 weeks. No, like 11 weeks, something ridiculous. Yeah. Of course, and then when that ends, then I'm just like, oh, when's basketball start? Because I
So
need
then
to
you're
be.
like, I guess I'll get the schedule.
I'm like, oh, let's see. I guess where I'm going. Like, and it's also because I help. Um, and this whole thing. We're just rambling at this point, but who cares?
Yeah,
Um,
that's fine. I can ask you a few more questions if you want.
no, it's fine. No, but then like
Yeah.
I'm going through emails for tomorrow. Like, I sent Jim Churchill, who station manager for the ticket. I'm like, oh, so I pulled these just in case you want these, so we can plan out doing 61 games in 9 weeks.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. So I mean, we have a doubleheader. We had a doubleheader on Friday at Brewer Camden Hills. They did the
Oh,
Herman.
wait, didn't that already
Yeah, that
happen?
was good. Yeah,
That
that
was good.
happened.
That was good. Those were good games, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Camden Hills girls won by what was it, like 54-31, something like that. The boys game was good.
Yeah.
The blanking on his last name, Ollie Higgins.
Higgins. Yeah, that sounds right.
He's built like a freshman. But you can see that.
Yeah.
And he can fill out, and that was just competitive. Kind of just like grounded out, classic Class A style game. Those are two teams that watching just for 32 minutes. I'm like, yeah, I can see you playing that Wednesday night in Augusta. One of those two games.
Yeah, I can see that.
So that was impressive. And
I hear Nolan Ames looks pretty good.
yeah, he looked very good. And Joel does a great job with them. And of course, you have a Brewer team that lost a lot of close games last year, coming off 14-4 season, and they're going to be competitive. I mean, I haven't seen Hamden yet. What I heard, Hamden's probably the favorite.
I've
I didn't
heard
see
that
the
they're
KVAC
maybe.
poll either, but
I have it somewhere
I'll see
in.
them probably the next week and a half for the first time, because they don't play either Bangor or Brewer until the new year. Usually those are
Let me
games that
bring up this
I'll.
preseason poll.
Yeah.
Coaches poll, Class A North. Hamden got 8 first place votes. Messalonski got 2 first place votes.
Okay.
Then Brewer, Camden, Gardner, Mount Blue, Coney, Nokomis.
Yep. So that's what I figured. So those Brewer Hamden games, I want to say is that second week of I want to say January 7th sticks out in my mind for whatever reason. So that'll be good. I know Hamden have Messalonski quick.
Early in the schedule?
I
I
think
think that's
so.
when you want to get them because I saw them at the Yankee Ford tip-off thing, and if you had
Yep.
asked me based on those games where they were in the coaches poll, I would have not said second.
Right.
But I think they lost Merrick Smith and they're trying to figure out a new identity now.
Yeah. So Hamden. That's right. Hamden goes to Coney this week. Then Hamden also plays Edward Little, which is interesting. I thought.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds normal to me. And I think we used to play Edward Little twice.
Yeah.
Back in my day.
I'm gonna throw an idea at you and a
Yeah.
scheduling idea, and tell me if it's crazy and why it wouldn't work. So, because we had like Marana Cook last year in B North and not playing anybody in B North. The same with Mount View and C North. What if the MPA said, "Look, the 4 closest teams to you geographically in your region, you got to play them twice, or the 5 closest, or whatever number," and they give you a list. So if it was Madomic, you say, "Okay, you got to play Lincoln, you got to play Oceanside, you got to play whoever else would be closest, Morris, I guess. Whoever the 4 are, you got to play those teams tough, and then do whatever else you want, and that would, I think, solve the closed. It would solve the problem where you're not playing anyone in your region before the tournament, and it would also force conferences to open the schedule.
So I think I like the idea overall premise. I think if you had 4 or 5 and you said that, it might cause an issues where some school schedules totally fill up. For
Right.
example, if you are in Old Town, okay,
Mhm.
you are one of the 4 or 5 closest schools to
Like everybody.
Herman, Orono, John Baptist, um, probably a Bucksport, I would guess, maybe
Mhm.
Ellsworth or something like that, but all 3 of the county schools. So
Mm.
then at that point, you know you know, you could
So
have
maybe
like, oh, you're now on 10 or 12 schools lists if you
okay.
did it that way. That would be the only. Now, if you said 3, I think mathematically possible, maybe you kind of avoid that issue.
Mhm.
Um,
Or you could just say it's this many 8 of your games are going to be out of this
yeah,
system maximum. And so it's maybe not necessarily the 4
right.
closest. It's just 4 that are close unless you're
Maybe
counting teams.
maybe it moves to a statewide like football did with a statewide scheduling model or something like that.
Mhm.
Of course, football schedules I just don't understand anymore.
I don't
I
understand
don't
them at
remember
all.
who's in
Yeah.
what class, and stuff like that.
And they're
But
so small.
you know,
The regions are so small.
right, yeah. So I mean, I'm just pulling up Miranda Cook and try having to explain how Miranda Cook fits in the heel point picture to Old Town parents like I had to do last year. That was that was a lot of fun. Um,
I was hoping
when
they
you're
were going to
looking
win because that was going to piss
when you're
everybody
looking
off if
at
they won.
help points between Telstar and Mount Abram, um, to figure out who's going to finish where, in B North. That's a lot of fun. Like Miranda Cook. Okay, so
But that's
Mountain Valley
that's one of
Mountain
the
Valley
great things
Conference.
about the hill points, though, or is
Oh
how
no.
chaotic that is.
So looking at their schedule, Miranda Cook, Mountain Valley Conference schedule primarily, I count one,
Hmm.
2, 3, 4 games outside the Mountain Valley Conference, and
Okay.
only 2 of them they play MCI twice.
Okay,
So
that
that's
makes
it.
sense. Wow.
They go to Levitt, who's B South. Yes.
Hmm. Yep.
Yes. Um,
Yeah.
and
And
then they
Levitt
host
just
Mount.
loves that they have to drive by all these teams that are right near them to go to Oceanside or to go to Madomic or to go to Lincoln Academy. They just love that.
Well, I think we've gotten a little smarter since the Mountain Valley the MVC kind of unclosed them or opened their schedule up a little bit.
Hmm.
I mean, looking at Spruce, I mean, who does Spruce play now? This
Spruce has a
is
much different schedule this year.
yeah. So let me just count. Let's look. Madomic, Yarmouth, Wells, Lake Region, Lincoln, Levitt. So what? That's 6 games out. That's better than it was.
That's much better than it
I would
was
assume they play the Class B schools twice in the MVC. Maybe not. I only see Mountain Valley
in
once.
in the MVC. Yeah,
Yeah,
that would
because
make
there's what? How
sense.
many left? What? What? Spruce, Mountain Valley, uh, Lisbon. Yeah, Lisbon, Oak
Lisbon.
Hill. 4 of them.
Hmm.
So plus Miranda Cook. That's a B
Yeah.
school, not B South, but
Or we could just get rid of conferences altogether. I don't understand their purpose anymore.
well, it's funny. I'll circle back to the Big East, and the Big East, I guess, kind of formed, 40 years ago because it was a whole thing for Prescott and Caribou to get games.
Hmm.
They're the last 2 teams up in the county.
Right.
Fort Kent dropped probably early '80s, and then the remainder. You have like Fort Fairfield was A, Limestone was A, Madawaska was A, Holton was A, and I want to say they dropped in that
Wow.
order or something like that. So, long story short, Caribou was only getting, or Preston Caribou, they were only getting at most 8 games because they did have long-standing relationships with Bangor and Brewer and Stearns. Now, Stearns is
Hmm.
the fact that Stearns played up for so many years is astounding to me. But basically, they built that league, and it was 7 schools back then. It was Prescott, Caribou, Stearns, Bangor Brewer, Old Town, and Nokomis. They got Nokomis to get in on that because Nokomis, I want to say, applied to the KVAC and was denied. So they needed games. So
Okay.
it was those 7 schools. So that's 12 games. And then Hamden probably joined the year or 2 after they moved up to A. And that's how it just pretty much stuck that way. Um, I want to say around 85 or something like that.
Okay.
There was a stretch between 85 and 93 where Hamden's schedule did not change. It was 9
Like
schools
at
twice.
all?
No,
Oh wow.
they played Herman and Ellsworth in B, and that was their schedule in their Big East schedule.
Huh.
It didn't change for like 7 or 8 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's a dream for us.
Right. So if we went
But
to a oh sorry, go ahead.
yeah, but like it's same thing with like Presque Isle and Caribou. I mean, they had their 14 Class A games. Holton, Fort Kent, you're done. I mean, that's
Mhm.
it. It was easy because they were B.
Yeah.
And then pick your relationships. Bangor had long-standing relationships with, I want to say, like Lawrence and Waterville, so they were getting some KVAC crossovers. Same Brewer probably snuck in maybe something with like a Skowhegan or something like that, where and then it all started changing. Like Stearns dropped, and by the time Stearns stopped playing up, they were actually pretty much Class C by enrollment.
Mhm.
They were like under 400, so that was like 93, 94. So then you had 7 teams. They had to add in KVAC crossovers for full, and then then the population just shifted south.
Yeah.
So that's where it formed as a Class A league, and then the Class B league kind of spun off that, and then eventually it kind of merged or totally transitioned to the Class B league it is now. Once the big 3 that were left joined the KVAC, so. There's a lot of history. I was joking with someone yesterday. It's like, how many times have Old Town and Presque Isle played over the past 50 years? Probably at least 100 times because they've always
Yeah,
played
that sounds
twice.
right. Sure.
So,
That's a long drive too.
it's not. It's
Cuz this
not. I mean,
highway, right?
it's interstate. Like, I have to travel up to Presque Isle for work on Friday.
Mhm.
Um, to go up to our office up there, and I'm going to stay Friday night because we're at Caribou Saturday. So
Sure.
why not?
Yeah, I mean, I would rather do
I like
that
going up there.
than the mid coast to Bangor drive, which
Oh
just is
yeah.
terrible. That's like
Oh god.
220 and hairpin turns and
So, uh, when I was working out of the Augusta office, I had a lot of projects. It was I was in the Mid Coast region, so I had a lot of
mhm.
projects. Large culverts and stuff like that. 220, perfect example. Trying to get down to a site visit from my house down to 220. You're
It's
going back
terrible.
roads. You're going Route 7 to like 131 all the back way to get
Mhm.
to Waldoboro or Waldoboro or Warren. And then, you're still another 15, 20 minutes past Route 1.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
it's
like I was
it's
hearing
interstate.
some rumors about reclassification and shit, because we're gonna do that this year, so that'll
Yep.
be fun. And they were like, I saw one proposal where they were sending Lincoln Academy to be north, and I was like, don't make them do that drive. That's cruel. Like, don't
I
send
wonder
them
if
to
they
be north.
I wonder if they defaulted all the KVAC schools to the north.
It was something like that. And I saw a bunch of different proposals, and then
Yep.
my recommendation to them was keep those three mid coast teams together, whatever you do,
Right.
because those are pretty good rivalries. And in general, that was my suggestion: was if you've got rivals that you can theoretically justify them being in the same region, keep them in the same region. Because like there's no point in splitting up. Um, moving Halldale and Winthrop and having them in different regions.
Right. And we've also said this before, your region doesn't necessitate what your schedule looks like. I mean, those are
Right.
schools that are always going to play each other twice.
Yeah.
And most of them have maintained. Does Camden play
Camden
Oceanside and
sometimes
Madonic
play.
twice?
Sometimes
Let
it's
me look this
once.
up.
It's been a couple times. There was a year where Lincoln schedule, like for a 2 year stretch, Lincoln's schedule was very south. It was like all their
Yep.
games were south, and I think they played everybody in the mid coast once. But
Yep.
generally, it's those four teams play each other twice.
So even Camden Hills still has Oceanside and Madonic twice.
Right. They might not
So
play Lincoln.
yeah, they don't.
Okay.
So, but if you're going to play a crossover, hey,
Yeah.
heel points right here. for the taking. It's best in my opinion. Hey, let's travel, because the cross class thing and we played with this a little bit last year, the 5-point versus 2-point between the classes and how much that would change things, and it really didn't.
It changed. It was like a little. I was
Like,
surprised.
and
I thought it would
we
change
did
more.
that. We did that for Mount View to see what that would have done.
And they
Actually,
didn't
that's a
move
schedule that I want to look up.
I don't think they moved at all.
One, I don't think it was. I think
maybe
the
one
teams around them moved.
I think what
It
happened
had to do
was
with more the county schools.
They were very far behind the 6th seed, and then with 5 points, it was like they were right next to the 6th seed, but they were still the 7 or something like that. They just closed a gap, is what they really did.
Yeah, I want to say some of the county schools kind of just moved around because they play mixed schedules, CD schedules all the time, and it's whatever.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
You know,
I mean, although Mount View, that was one of the easiest upset predictions I've ever seen, because you just look at their schedule and you're like, oh, they nearly beat Lincoln Academy and they nearly beat Madonna McValley and they hung okay with Oceanside, and you're like, and they're in C North.
Yeah,
I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, I can't remember who they had in the quarterfinal. Who'd they have in the quarter? Fort Kent or something like that.
That sounds right.
That sounds right. Some of the loudest fans I've ever heard.
Mount View?
Oh, yeah. And maybe it was because at the table we're sitting there for radio, and the visiting team's always behind us. So I swear it took 2 minutes into that first quarter, and I think we turned that crowd mic just no. So
well, their coach is pretty boisterous too, so that helps.
I mean, they're fun to watch. I mean, just the energy. Yeah. It's like, whoa, it's just like a buzzsaw just came through there. And it'd been since 87? Something.
It had been a long time.
It had been a long, long time.
They'd been down for a while.
Yeah. So
yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that opening. I saw them opening week somewhere early in the season, and they were feisty, and you were like, okay, they're gonna give some people some trouble, but I didn't think they were going to be as good as they were, and heard their coach got ejected from the game, so that was fun. So, and I had video of it, so it's always fun to have video of an ejection for the newsletter.
I've helped you with that.
Rate.
I've helped you with that one. So.
Yeah. Anytime I can get some drama in the newsletter, people love it. Like, I got home Friday, and I had so many messages about the 6 technical fouls in the Monmouth game. I was like, 6 technical fouls? All right, this is my jam.
So
and then it was very disappointing because it was just, so what do you, because it was the flop thing, which is so stupid. It's so stupid. What's your take on this flop thing? The point of emphasis, because there's going to be so many flops. I saw one.
I think there's a lot of
where the player landed on his head and he got called for a flop warning, and I was like, "What are we doing?"
So I haven't seen it called yet.
You could watch the.
I've seen a lot of. I've seen a lot of people ask for it to be called in the 4 countable games I've seen thus far. But the other thing is when I'm producing a game, I don't get to watch the game as closely as as much as I wish.
Watching the levels and everything.
I'm watching, that and thing. I was on graphics on Friday night, and I'm trying to deal with that. I'm just like, why is the clock wrong again? Why is the arrow wrong? Like, I think I got the arrow right, and then halfway through the third quarter, then realize, the arrow's wrong. Oh, okay.
That issue nice in Belfast with the actual clock a couple times.
Yeah, and then when I was doing PA on Saturday, that was yesterday. Long week already. You kind of get in your tunnel. You're trying to memorize the other team as much as you can, so you don't need your rosters in front of you. Because one team I have memorized already. The other team, where I'm never going to see again, I'm struggling with.
You're that, like, so. Number 5 is
Yeah, I'm just like, who is that? And so it's an adjustment. Everyone's shaking off rust. Everyone is. Let's go into the flopping. I actually saw 2 technicals for flopping last year,
Right.
from the same official, both
Sure.
legitimate and both like totally legitimate.
Hmm.
But it's interesting. I'm interested to see how each individual board interprets it and see if there's a difference there. Is it different
Interesting.
up north? The Eastern Main Board, how is that? Central Main Board, which it's funny in your area, Madomic pulls from the Central Main Board, Oceanside
Hmm.
pulls from the Eastern Main Board.
Right.
So
Which is why the officiating's always different at Oceanside, and
uh-huh.
I think Camden pulls from there too, right?
Yes, so Knox County pulls from the Eastern Main Board.
Yeah, that's why
So
Madomic fans are always mad about the whistle they get at Oceanside and Madomic because it's the whistle they're
yeah,
not used to.
right. So I mean, I want to see it in practice. I'm still kind of like if there's a formal signal now, and like
Some weird thing
you
like
don't have to
this.
call it. I don't do basketball. Some people say I barely do soccer. Um, but I think it's like you don't have to stop play for it. But
Right.
I want to see it in front of me. So we'll see what happens. But any point of emphasis, and when people know it's a point of emphasis, they're just gonna scream it the whole day
Yeah.
and
Do you
see if
think
they
it's
can
a
get it.
thing where, like Jared Richmond was saying, where we're going to see it a lot for like 2 weeks and then it'll kind of go away?
Yeah, isn't that most things?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
why couldn't? So here's my question: if this is a safety thing to prevent the flopping,
hmm
safety, blah 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 blah, get a restricted circle. It's the easiest thing in the world,
I
right?
know. Is that
And I know
even
it's a national thing, I think,
right? Yeah. I don't know
but
why there isn't it nationally.
I don't know either. So I have a theory I'm working on, is that
hmm
the NFHS officials don't know basketball because they take away the 1-on-1 because of safety. Have you ever seen someone get hurt rebounding a free throw ever in your life?
Not not like maybe a freak thing where someone goes up and elbow gets in
Yeah,
the face. Maybe like a freak
freak
thing, but I'm like,
freak thing.
I didn't get it either.
Yeah, so
But
the whole changing the fouls doesn't make any
hmm
sense. Makes the game worse. This flop thing, instead of just doing a restricted circle, which everyone seems to
yeah,
agree is easy and makes sense and is the most no-brainer safety change you can make, and it's
right.
cheap. It's like $10
hmm
or however much paint is these days. I think paint's
Where
expensive.
they would tape it first and then they'll
You
do
could,
it when they redo the floor.
especially up north. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a bunch of these things where you're just like, do you guys even watch basketball?
So let me ask you this, because
Okay.
um, do you prefer the game flow of the NBA or college more?
That's a good question. I like both for different reasons.
Okay.
The end of game NBA review-a-thon,
Okay.
I don't love. And I don't
Ignore
think
that.
anyone does. Okay.
So
I
like you
watch
brought
more
up,
NBA.
yeah. So you brought up the fouls resetting on quarters, which is what they
Hmm.
do in the NBA.
Right.
In college, you're playing halves. I
Right.
love the flow of halves. I still don't like women's college basketball playing quarters.
I do like
I
halves. Halves would be interesting.
I think I mean even if it was like 2 16s,
Hmm.
and give the teams another timeout. I want to say
Hmm.
Minnesota does that or something weird.
Really
At
interesting.
one point,
So
they were playing
give
halves.
so halves with an extra timeout.
Yeah,
I like that.
I think imagine how we'd be so on time during the tournament. That'd be awesome. And you have a band director who's giving away a timeout at the quarter break,
Yeah.
suggesting that.
Yeah.
No, but like the foul reset, it's fine. I mean, I had to say every time, deliberately first of the second quarter.
Right.
Yes, I
It's
think the beginning of the third quarter, I said first of the second half. Then the clock operator's like, "Well, I mean, I should be saying third quarter." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. I don't like the rule."
I think it makes it
But
harder to come back, the new foul rule, the
well, we
free
saw
throws.
that. We saw that in
Yeah.
the tournament last year. But
Yeah. I
my
think it was
biggest thing
bad for
with
the
it,
game.
if you um, reset the fouls. I think it's going to be the bonus at 5. Have it be 1-1.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're going to be old man yelling at cloud now. You want a second free throw? Make your first.
Also, there is no better drama than missing the front end of 1-1.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's so great. Like tie game or something,
Mm-hmm.
down one,
Yeah.
missing the front end of that 1-1. Oh my gosh. It's so cool. And
So
just take it away. Yeah, what do we need
I
that
never
for?
got the safety aspect of it.
Yeah, it doesn't make any
In
sense.
soccer, because you would think soccer is the most simple sport in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I do club, which is US soccer / FIFA / IFAB rule set. You have NFHS rule set, which is different, and then you have NCAA rule set. So I'm different, dealing with 3 different rule sets,
Yeah.
across what you're doing, and even interpretations differ between the 3. So that's hard to, and you would think what's known as the simple game is not.
Yeah. Right.
So, and
Like, I
there's
don't even
some
know what
rule,
the rules are. I just know offsides is a
and
thing.
and I will say NFHS has made some changes to make it more like the international game. Um, Mostly because the NCAA kind of spearheads that, and they almost try to reflect that first. But there's some procedural things with high school that sometimes you forget where you are, and you get it wrong.
Yeah. Sure.
And you forget to do things. So, and I don't know how many, probably a lot of tournament officials might get into that kind of that D3 circuit locally for college.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
there's
know
some.
how
Down
there
south
are
there is.
some. And I know they had to change this year. They were counting college games to count towards your tournament count, or they were do something with that.
Interesting.
I think I heard something about that as well for eligibility purposes. So, but that's an adjustment too.
Yeah.
So I don't envy
I think
them.
they were doing that because there were some complaints that some of the best officials down south weren't eligible for the tournament because they were doing college games, and people
Yeah.
were going, "Yeah, let's get the better refs at the tournament. Who cares what they're refing all year, as long as they're
And
refing somewhere."
a third of my schedule is college.
Yeah.
And it might pose some scheduling logistical problems between the signers. But and a lot of the people I worked with, later in the high school playoffs were, those who did college. Actually, why we pushed this back a little bit, we had a referee development meeting right prior to
Yeah.
this, and that's where I was earlier with a lot of those same guys. So, it's stuff like that. And I get a lot of basketball officials who ask me why I don't do basketball. And I'm just like, I will do it in my spare time in the winter. I'll do it in between the game I have with the band on Thursday, the 2 games I have with a ticket on Friday, and the 2 games I have on the microphone Saturday. Yeah. So, I don't have time.
I used to get asked if I wanted to be an official, and I don't get asked that anymore. But
Why do you
maybe
think
it's too
that
many.
is?
I don't, there's a number of reasons. It might be the Peter Webb jokes. It might be, or it might just be that they're like, well, he's clearly busy. So
I'm going to say the latter for your sake.
I think probably the latter because I have not heard a single complaint about a Peter Webb joke other than from a reporter who complained that he's old and he's sick or something. And I'm like, yeah, man, I am aware. It's just a joke.
So I've gotten to know a lot of the basketball officials, because you're in a gym every day, and that's kind of the fun of seeing who. Of course, then they still rib you. It's like, oh, okay, well, the band's not here to make things sound worse, so you gave them a microphone instead. It's like, why'd you do that? And it's like, okay, great start. This is the 4th game we've had today. Please be nice. So, I don't know. It's good. It's fun. So
I think there's some people who take this all too seriously, and we're just having fun. It's
kids playing sports.
Yeah, I had a ref walk over to me at the Civic Center last year, and he goes, "I'm just hoping that I'm not in the newsletter."
That's great.
Something like that.
That's so
I
so
was
we're
like, I'm watching.
I know. It's we take it seriously, but in the grand scheme of things, if we're just facilitating an environment, we're getting the kids the coverage they deserve for something that they
Hmm.
enjoy, and they're not harming anyone. It's is that really the worst thing in the world?
Yeah,
So I think we enjoy this, and we spend a lot of time with it.
too
I don't
much probably.
probably way too much time, and I wouldn't necessarily even take it seriously. I think
Hmm.
maybe we take the product we produce seriously, but not
Yeah,
ourselves
definitely. Yeah.
seriously. I mean, I was talking. We wrote a sportsmanship plug for PA, and we thought it went too long on Thursday, so I changed it to what I consider to be the tournament one, at least what
Hmm.
they used in Bangor, um, on Saturday. So we used that, and uh, my principal, who was on the mic on Thursday, he said, "Yeah, I got an email from the Ellsworth AD. He really liked what we used, and I thought it was way too long. I sent it to him anyway." So I'm like, okay. So I guess maybe we need more reminder of that. Uh,
Yeah.
I think when early in the season, when there are fewer people in the gym, a lot of voices are very exposed. Um,
Yeah.
you
Sure.
can hear everything,
That's the
and
easiest way to get ejected as a fan is to be at a game where there's not a lot of people
yeah,
because they can hear you,
yep.
you know?
And as an
And
official, um, you don't. s- There's so much going on in front of you that you really don't want to seek it out. The
mhm,
worst thing is to be aware of it and not do something about it, because game admin, they will take care of it. I mean,
yeah.
they don't want it anywhere near the educational environment, which is really really which is great. I think maybe there's some unfair reputation, so like they don't want to deal with it. No, they don't want to deal with it, so they'll get rid
No,
of
because
it.
they don't want it to be there in the first place.
So I think behavior in the stands is much better than it was. Let's say 3 years ago when we started letting people back in the gym.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Yeah, where we all kind of forgot how to socialize, and
Some
be
of us
around
haven't
people.
figured it out yet.
No, some we still haven't. Uh, but yeah, so I mean, I just don't like when adults make things worse, um, for kids.
Hmm.
At some point, you have to remember that no matter what you do, um, there's always a watchful eye or a listening ear that you're always going to be setting an example for them. So,
And I have been guilty of this myself.
yeah,
When in my younger and louder years, I was very good at
hmm,
yelling at officials, like elite
yeah.
at yelling at officials. And then my brother gave me an iPad and had me start taking stats for him, and that shut me up pretty quickly because I had to pay attention.
So you're an iPad kid.
I'm an iPad kid. Yeah, I am an iPad kid. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Raising an iPad kid, I am an iPad kid. And then when I started to do this, I got much nicer to the officials, even though you would not think so from the jokes I make. Just
Right.
and just
Well, you
because
have
I'm
to.
like, oh well, now I'm neutral.
Right.
You know,
But you have a brand. You have a persona.
yeah, I
It's a
do have a
little bit of
brand.
wrestling in you. Okay. You can't break kayfabe.
It's
Okay.
true.
You got to play the heel.
Yeah, yeah. Someone's got
Hold
to
on.
play
What
the
happened to
heel. I don't
Justin
know how I
Herbert
ended
here?
up being the heel, but you know,
Ask Brewer.
I picked them in the wins draft, and they're
Yeah.
thrilled.
I know.
I think they like me now. Maybe I'll get a
I,
shirt.
I,
I
yeah, I
doubt it.
know. No, it's you know what you really need. You need a pair of their warm up pants, those white and orange striped pants, the
Oh,
snappables that they have.
I hate the striped warm up pants.
Oh, those are
That the
so
Indiana
obnoxious. I
wears.
love them.
I
Yeah.
hate them so much.
Oh,
I am
th-
out on those. I am not a
they are
fan.
so bad. They're good. I love them. Oh, I
I
just
would
love them.
totally wear like a throwbacky brewer, like the old witch design
Oh yeah, those are
shirt.
sick.
Those are
Oh
cool.
no,
I would
Utterback
100%.
will get you one.
You think so?
I will talk it into existence.
I love this plan. My plan is to do the reason I do the video podcast is so that people will send me shirts because
Yeah.
I love getting shirts and I can wear them on the video pod. I didn't wear one today, but I'm wearing
We
my
should.
this
I,
hat.
I think if you want to be neutral, you should be selling defunct school shirts.
That's
Okay.
Don Shields has been
Can
talking
you
that
imagine
plan
how
for a
many
while.
Georges Valley Buccaneer T-shirts you could sell?
Oh yeah, you can sell a lot.
I will buy all of them.
Well, you could even do it. You could these drop ship places that will like print on demand shirts.
Yeah.
You just need I think the issue is you got to figure out who owns that logo, and
But
nobody knows.
and sometimes I wonder who owns the logo schools are using.
Yeah. Does yeah? I mean, I think that's a real question. It's like, does the school district own it? Does
Well,
anyone own it?
how many schools use pro logos?
A lot,
Yeah.
way too many. And I'm always like, what are you guys doing? Get a logo. Get a kid in your school who's got an art vibe
Yeah.
to draw something.
I don't know
Jeez.
I don't know the legal licensing on that.
I don't. I
I
think
don't
I read an article about it once with like the Vikings logo,
yeah.
and it's a thing where the Vikings could they could sue Caribou, for example, and say you can't use our logo. If I'm remembering this correctly, they could, but it'd be a really bad look.
Yeah.
So they just don't. They're just like,
What
well, what are we
about
gonna do?
defunct NHL teams that used to be in Glendale, Arizona?
Hmm. Someone
I
probably
don't
owns
know.
that.
I don't know.
But yeah,
Well,
like the Georges Valley logo, there would be a question for a lawyer to
right.
see, who owns that. Does like Rockland own it? Does the town of
That's a good
Thomaston own it?
question. Well, I mean, in the beginning, Oceanside was just using an Oregon O.
Yeah,
So, and that could be litigious. Nike could come
hmm
in and just be like, just
Nike could come
destroy
in
you.
and yeah,
Phil
yeah.
Knight would just be like, no.
I think we need more work on the logos. For some of these logos, they need some work. Some of them are really
We need,
good. Madomic just redid theirs, which is looks really nice.
yeah, that looks nice.
Yeah, and then I think we should have some more alternate stuff. Camden has a
Just
third
not
jersey
black.
this year.
Who?
Camden has a third jersey. They have an
Oh,
alternate
the
third
black
jersey.
ones? Well, black's a
Yeah,
school color. So that's a
it is a
little
school
different.
color.
I just don't like how schools wore black for black's sake. So we're
If
just
it's
going to wear
not in
black.
there,
It's not a school color.
yeah,
Why are we doing that?
yeah,
Well,
that's a good one.
Camden should get a pink jersey too, so they can get 4. And maybe a city
Oh,
edition.
all right. I would love a city edition with like a
In
windjammer
season,
on it.
yeah, an in season tournament floor too.
I think you're actually only allowed 3. I think there's like a for some reason that's a stupid rule that the NFHS set. Probably because someone had like 15 different jerseys, and they're like, just
That
no,
would
just
actually
stop it.
that would annoy me so much. No, but it's like, and then you have some schools who wear like their dark jersey is black.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why are you doing that? Black's not a school color. You wear maroon. Wear maroon or burgundy or whatever you call it
Who
now.
who can we get? Is there this Pete Rogers guy who does the jerseys for the Celtics every time they win? You
Yeah,
seen
yeah,
that? Yeah.
yeah.
How do we get someone like that to do city edition jerseys for a bunch of different schools?
The only person I think crazy enough to do that would be Adam Robinson, but he's
Hmm. I
he's
don't know that
busy
he's.
going 18-0 with the St. Dom's JV. So I don't know.
Also, I don't know if he's a graphic designer.
I think he'd find a way.
He can find a way. We need someone.
I
I
don't.
think that would be a great project to do a city edition for a bunch of different schools.
Yeah. See now you're you know giving kids more stuff to put on Instagram, and is that really
I
what they need?
I'd be fine with that. That would be a great project for an art class
It
or a
actually
graphic
would be.
design class.
Yeah.
Like, hey, do you want to do a city edition jersey just for your school? And there could be the positive city edition jersey, and there could be the negative city edition jersey.
The negative.
You could have like the Madomic City Edition jersey could have like a Moody's Diner theme to it,
Oh, that'd be
something like
awesome.
that. That would be so cool.
Oh, now we're on to something. Like, who
See,
would
I
have the
think
most
that would.
ridiculous?
Oh yeah, the most ridiculous.
most ridiculous thing that we
Was
could.
Cassett? Would it just be traffic?
I was gonna say, uh, a silhouette of the closed main Yankee, but something for. But you just imagine, just like Morse wearing just like a drop shadow of just a giant ship that wraps around the whole jersey.
That would be so cool. And that crane would
Or
have the BIW crane in it.
yeah, oh yes. Brunswick could just have fire just all over. That'd be phenomenal.
This is like a
Man,
fantastic idea for someone to do.
I
I don't have the
jeez,
graphic design skills to do this, but
neither do I. I'm barely dangerous, and I think all my graphic design is stuff that I accidentally made in PowerPoint. I think
sure.
that's my limitations. No, but you meant like Portland just having just the expo with a giant no parking sign. Just dumb stuff like that.
The Cape Elizabeth one.
Oh my God!
Something about kicking people out.
Hold on. Imagine the Winthrop Rambler school bus City Connect jersey.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
They have to be yellow.
Uh-huh.
And just have it just wrap around the whole thing.
I love this idea.
This is ridiculous. And then even though I'm traditional in the sense where I hate in playoff games like baseball playoffs, for example, where they'll wear alternate jerseys in playoff games.
Yeah.
If these City Edition jerseys are this good, exclusively wear them in the tournament. Yeah. I don't care.
100%.
Yeah.
100%, and sell them. You got to sell them.
Oh, I mean, I think we've figured out the fundraising issues at every single school.
I think
across the
we've
state.
just financed the shot clocks. That's what we've done.
I think we might have.
Get the merch for the City Edition jerseys.
Yeah, that'd be so great. Man, I do have a Winthrop Ramblers t-shirt with the school bus on it because I had
the Magic School Bus?
Oh yeah.
I gotta get one of those. I gotta get someone.
I think I ordered it. It's weird,
Mike
like one of those.
Now. Maybe Mike Gray can hook me up with the Magic School
Bus.
He
is?
Yeah, he's their assistant AD.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
I saw him at a Gardner football game. He was wearing his Gardner stuff, so he said he switched. He had to go home after the soccer game or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then change into Gardner gear for the Gardner football game.
Huh.
I think he was, because he retired or stopped coaching, and then I think, to spend more time with his family, and then I think his family wanted him to spend less time with them or be out, not in the house so much.
Because
he was maybe
it's funny how many coaches that happens to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's like, okay, now you have one winter where you're home, and they realize, yeah, we don't like you when you're home. It's like you're just like basketball. I just need to basketball. It's like, then why don't you go do basketball? Okay.
Yeah.
It's good for you. I mean, it's good for everybody.
You don't need to be here all the time.
Yes, exactly. It's like you are watching a huddle cam of the team you coached. And there's no score on the screen. You have no idea what's going on, and you are still keeping stats.
Yeah.
I think it's time to go back.
It's like in Curb when Larry David, makes the realization that the issue is it's too much Larry. It's like part-time Larry.
Yes.
Too much Larry is not good for anybody. You need part-time Larry. Yeah.
I say that because I'm not at school. I'm at school maybe once every 2 weeks. The days I go into school and the kids are like, "Oh, like wish you were here every day." And like, if I was here every day, you would not like me.
You'd be sick of me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like we can't have that. I'm here too much to begin with, probably for my own good. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me when coaches come back in whatever capacity, even as an assistant. I know a lot of coaches love being assistants, like a varsity assistant. No JV, no freshman, just gonna be a varsity assistant. They just love it.
Yeah, because you're still there, you're still in the game, you're part of everything,
right?
And you don't have all the responsibility.
Well, from what I've heard, it's just like, especially as like a varsity assistant, whether it's paid or not, like it's just practice. every day of practice. And I love just observing practice. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Don't miss the running aspect of it,
Yeah,
the
I
intensity.
can see that.
But I,
Yeah.
I love just to listen in how, they structure practice, just the routine of practice. That's what I miss more than anything else is that day to day. The games, I mean, the games are the games. Okay.
Yeah,
That's when you
you're gonna go to
execute.
the games anyway.
Yeah. So, no, but the learning aspect of it, the educational, the day to day, because some of these teams that I want to, like a team like, pick a team who scores a billion. Like, I would have loved to watch
Oceanside.
an Oceanside boys practice from last year.
Oh my gosh, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how many
Yeah, yeah.
shots are you putting up? How much are you running? You know,
Probably a
just,
lot.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think one reason I started doing this is I missed the communal aspect of being on a team
yeah.
and being part of a program because I was like that in high school all through growing up, high
Hmm.
school, college. I did play by play where
Yep.
at my college, and so I was on the bus all the time, traveling with the team and everything. And then I just didn't do anything for like 10 years, anything like really basketball related,
Yep.
and that's probably part of why I ended up doing this.
Well, I mean, speaking as someone who was non athletic and was even less athletic in high school, I mean, I just like, can I be the manager?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, and I loved it. Practice every day, just watching practice. I eventually junior senior year I started running with them, which come to
Hmm.
think of it, I don't know why I did that. Probably I needed it.
It was probably weird, but
No, it's just like, oh, I'll just do it, whatever. No,
yeah.
but just that day to day aspect, especially with those teams that we had at Hamden. My sophomore year, uh, who did we lose to in the semis? EL. Then we had the two Eastern Maine titles. Uh, my junior and senior year, and then 22-0. Senior year, we beat that South Portland team. Um, but that's what I miss. And we had, was it last year? It might have been the year before. When Bartlett won his 300th,
Hmm.
we did kind of a little celebration for that, and just having all the guys together it was a surprise. We were all there, and there's just having that crew kind of all together again. It's like it amazes me how much um, when you put the same people together, time never passes.
Yeah.
Um, in any setting. Um, I think that's that communal aspect, that team aspect is stronger than I guess maybe we can put into words.
Yeah,
So,
I could see that. Yeah. Yeah, because it's I don't know, it's strange. It's a weird community. Like a
hmm,
team is very close knit, but even the larger community of the state is is a very interesting ecosystem,
right.
because like I know you through this and I know Adam and I know various
Hmm.
coaches and refs from all over the state. And yeah, it's very strange.
Well, yeah, and I was talking with yesterday for the boys varsity game. I was talking with Dylan Kingsbury, coach up at
Hmm.
Presque Isle, and it took him out of context because he knows me through soccer because he coaches soccer as well. He's
Yeah,
a soccer official. It's like, oh no, I do this too and that. Oh yeah, I also do that, and none of those my day job.
right.
But so it's like, but yeah. So and I had a nice chat with him, and you know, but
He
that
was
sense
on
of
this
community,
podcast.
like yeah, oh exactly, and I'm gonna run into probably a billion people when I go up to Caribou on Saturday,
Sure.
and that's probably what I'm looking forward more than anything else. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I went to the Yankee Ford thing partly to see because I wanted to see a bunch of teams that I
yeah,
wouldn't see probably during the regular season. But then, I ran into Scott Bessie, talked to
hmm,
him for a while, talked to Chad Pulkinen, the Wyndham
yeah,
coach, for a while, a bunch of people like that, and yeah, it's very cool.
and that's one thing that I miss. Um, Tournament week now, just because of you know my role in radio, kind of in that third chair, which is the closest one to mid court, and I'm not giving it up uh,
Hmm.
on purpose. But I don't get the time to kind of float around behind the basket and just, mingle with other people. It's always like go, 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 go. And
you used to come to Augusta too.
yeah, exactly. I went once, twice, maybe last year.
Mm-hmm.
I got down to Augusta. I didn't make it to Portland at all, and that's okay. But
the expo is growing on me.
Is it?
A little bit. I figured out some of the parking tricks. So there's that.
We got parking. We just said, hey, we're media, and we just parked.
I didn't know that you could park for free for a while, and then Michael Hopper told me that the media gets to park for free, and I was like, I've been paying for parking.
Yeah, right between the rink. No, we went there. When was? Oh, it was the B games.
For the B State games.
B State games. That was the first time we went there. No public internet, which is astounding.
I wish they would fix that because I'm on a hotspot like the whole time to do stuff.
Well, and I asked him, it's like, okay, so you have a G League team here. Where's your Ethernet port? Oh, we don't know. Okay.
Well, so the issue is the Celtics have their own equipment, and they won't let the MPA use it, and that's why there's no foul numbers on the board. Because there's a separate. It's there. They're having to use. They use a separate controller for the scoreboard that only controls part of it, and not the full thing.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really annoying.
That's very annoying.
Well, so and then like at the Cross Center, they don't have the player fouls listed either.
Yeah.
Okay, and there was a stretch where I don't know, for whatever reason, there was a point of emphasis saying that the announcer can't announce the amount of fouls. That happened for a year.
That's so
and
stupid.
Then it's like why?
This is what I'm saying. They don't know ball. There's people making these decisions.
Well, there's there's a competitive advantage to that. And I'm like, for competitive advantage to both teams if they listen.
Knowing they got
and it's listed up there on the scoreboard.
They got a guy on the sideline who's keeping track of it.
Yeah, what are we gonna do? We're gonna bring back that old like lighted pillar with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, no, we should bring those back. Those were awesome.
Those were.
Have you ever seen those? You remember those?
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah. That would be.
I gotta get one of those. They had one in the auditorium on display. I wonder what happened to that.
Oh.
No, that'd be great. Oh man, I gotta get one of those. It's between that and I want a traffic light.
You want a traffic light? I would think with your job, you
I'm a civil
traffic light.
I'm a civil. Yeah, I know, but no, we had one at a conference on Thursday, and there's like, is that for sale? I was going table to table. It's like we're raffling it off. I'm like, but can I just buy it?
Like, how much do you think you're gonna make off this raffle? And I'll give you $10 more than that.
I mean, it's like I wanted this in my living room so I can pretend I'm Mr. Rogers because he had a traffic light.
Yeah, he did. That would be amazing.
And I mean, if Mr. Rogers had one, then that's good enough for me. I mean, I need to be a better person. That's probably a good.
Sweaters.
I need more sweaters. Although I did order a sweater for our ugly sweater game, and it wasn't as ugly as I wanted, but it matches school colors. So
there you go. My grandmother used to tell little kids that she was Mr. Rogers' mother, and that she knit all those sweaters, and that he never even called on Mother's Day. That was her running bit that she would tell people.
Do kids even know Mr. Rogers anymore? Or am I like the end of that wave?
They did that in the 90s.
Because I was towards the end of that, but my mother worked for Maine Public, so I was forced to watch it. That's how my dad got the gig, actually.
Really?
Yeah, he worked. So she worked for the producer who produced the tournament out of Bangor for 30, 35 years. And that's how he got that gig. And never gave it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Why would he give it up? That's a good gig.
Yeah, he works 2 days a year.
Yeah, it's like 2 days a year.
It was more, but because they used to have the regionals. But yeah, he'll go up to the county. It's like, oh, it's Jim Baines, or he travels for work everywhere. Like he'll go to some random town. It's like, oh, it's Jim Baines. I know you. You interviewed my nephew when he won in 2003 for Machias.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. So, it's funny. I tell him, it's like, why do you pay to go into a gym?
Yeah, he has to pay. Why would anyone make him pay? I just walk in. I don't pay anymore.
I know every back door now. I don't have
Yeah,
to. Usually,
I know
if
some
I'm
of the
going to
back
game, I'm
doors.
working. I don't go to
Right.
games that I'm not working anymore. That's not
Well, I have
to say,
like 6 press passes, so I just flash the press pass and nobody
yeah.
questions it.
And that's not for me to say is like, oh, I don't go to games that I'm not working anymore. It's like, no, I'm usually always working the game.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah,
I think
if I
we
go to a
have
game now, it's just by the virtue of me going, it's work because I'm gonna observe someone's gonna go in the newsletter from it. So
right.
you know,
Yeah.
so there's that.
So what do you got this week?
Well, there's Madomic Oceanside, so I'm gonna go to that.
Fun.
That'll be
Yep.
a boys girls doubleheader.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be a very interesting litmus test for everybody, I think.
Right.
And it'll be a rivalry game, so the place will be packed. And yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. And then I haven't figured out beyond that because I
Yep.
haven't looked at the schedule that far. I
So
usually
we
figure it out
have
like the
on
day before.
the ticket tomorrow. Varsity double 6:30 and 8. Old Town goes to John Baptist at the Cross Center, which is a totally different environment in the regular season.
Oh yeah, it's
Because
probably
there's
weird in the regular season.
it's no environment whatsoever. Then I want to see Tuesday. Where are we Tuesday? Tuesday we have Skowhegan Brewer girls.
Oh, Spruce comes to town on the 13th. So
For
they come to play Madomic.
really?
That'll be interesting.
I got to look at the Oceanside girls schedule for a second. I love how this whole thing was about schedules and we just never really talked about schedules.
We talked about schedules a little bit.
I got to find that because I got to figure out when do they come? When do the girls come up to Hamden? That is the 4th. Yeah, the 4th of January, and I can't go. That's too bad. Sorry, Kayla.
I just found a mistake in the schedule.
Oh, we did? Oh, who did
Yeah,
that?
I did.
Should sue him.
It's Oceanside girls. They're doubled up on the 10th with Madomic. They're a home and away. So let's talk about schedule. Why is it so hard to get this right in the year of our Lord 2024?
So, I mean, the schedule, it has to do, at least from an import thing. So I will end up copying. You saw the sheet. I had 3 sheets.
Mm-hmm.
I had an input sheet,
so many sheets,
an MPA modified sheet with like count and sort things up top, and then I had that master sheet, which I believe you pulled from, which was all formatted and everything go. I think probably in the case of Madomic, that might have been a situation where it wasn't initially a doubleheader.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it initially was
and something was never changed because let's look at this. Does it have Oceanside? So, I see it. So basically, we just got to change the date on the second game because I still see 18 games.
Okay.
I think it's something like that.
My spreadsheet system, what it does is it pulls, and that's why the codes I sent you, we'll get really granular now. The codes I get you, so I used to do this all manually. And like I would type in Madomic schedule, and I would type in Oceanside schedule, and I would type in Camden schedule. And that took forever. So then I figured out, I taught myself in Excel how to pull it from a master. And so what it does is it just tells it to pull the first 18 times you see Madomic Valley and put those in a list. And then what the codes do is initially it was, if you would say, give me Valley, it would give you Mountain Valley, Madomic Valley, and Valley.
Gotcha.
So the code is I'm just pulling for the whatever that designated code is for that school. And that saved me so much time because then it's automated and it just drops in. But the result is that I used to know everybody's schedule because I looked at it. And now I don't look at any of them until like 2 days before the game or something. Unless I just happen to be thinking about, I wonder what their schedule looks like. And then I go, look at that. There's a mistake.
Yep. So I think that's just a case where the date wasn't changed on my end.
That makes sense.
Or something like that. I mean,
but why is it so hard to enter these schedules? Like their school, did you see the one, I don't know if they did it this year, where all their games were home games? And I forget who it was. But let's say it's Coney.
Is that in the last column? The site column?
They would just,
because I've seen that. Usually I fix that.
No, they would be home in all 18 games. and then in the home column, and then the visiting column would be their opponent. And then for 9 of those games, it would be at their gym. In the other 9 games, it would be at the other team's gym, would be the location of the game. And I'm
So
like, how is this that hard?
so what I was doing is, so when I pull a schedule, I only pull in the home games. So
Mm,
it's stuff like that. And I saying, oh, there's 18 here. What did you do? And then I just move the columns and just
yeah. So they're still
shift things
doing it
back
this
and
year.
forth. A couple, I couldn't tell you who.
It's
I
this
wouldn't
our
out them
school
out.
system. This our school system is terrible. But anyway, it is what it is.
So, but I mean, maybe they want 18. Maybe they're like an SEC football team where they just want only home games and they can like the Georgia. I heard an argument from a Georgia fan. It's like, we played 4 games on the road. And I'm like, well, of course you did. They're
Don't
called
interrogate about
conference games.
why did
Okay.
you only
It's
play
like, well, we
4?
had to go to Alabama and Texas. I'm like, okay. Those are called
Right?
conference games, people. You can't play all 12 at home. Maybe if you're Notre Dame could find a way.
They could probably pull that off,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
So this is
All 5
this is
games.
totally unrelated. But did you
Yeah.
see the playoff game, that Indiana Notre Dame game, which is phenomenal that that's actually a real game?
I did see that. I can't believe the person I watched like 5 minutes of the
Yeah,
show, the selection show thing, and this guy's trying to make the argument that a team with a bye has a tougher road than a team that doesn't have a bye, and I'm like, dude,
100%.
you
100% is greater than
could lose the game that you
right.
don't have the bye. The bye is a free one.
I think, because I know this is related to Oregon. I think Oregon has the toughest path of the 4
Of the 4,
teams with a
sure,
bye. Um, but
but
I
not
was going
tougher than a
back.
team without one.
Yeah, that's just mathematically it's incorrect.
And
But
these people make a lot of money to say these things on TV.
I don't know. But no, I saw like the Notre Dame Indiana game is the first Notre Dame home game since 1990 not on NBC.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. That makes sense. Yeah.
So
Interesting.
no, this is like weird. I love weird stats like that. And then
That's a cool stat.
yeah.
Well, there was
So
the high school stat where a couple years ago when Madomic played Yarmouth in the regional final,
hmm
it was the very first meeting in basketball between Madomic Valley and Yarmouth ever,
yeah.
and boys or girls. And I was just like,
Uh,
I saw that and I was like, wow, that's crazy.
yeah, and I mean, we don't see a lot of that this year. I mean, other than Wisconsin and Morse.
Wisconsin Morse might be first.
Because
Well, no, they
maybe the
probably played
COVID
when
year.
Wisconsin was bigger. No, Wisconsin didn't play the
Uh
COVID year.
oh, okay. No, I don't
They
think
did because
Wisconsin would have.
I was hoping to see Nick DePatsy argue with officials up 80. I was waiting for that.
Yep. No, I Wisconsin probably wouldn't have. They were mid Main conference, and I doubt that literally was a closed league. There was 10 of them, so that was an 18-game schedule back in the
Right
day.
there, that's easy. Yeah.
Yeah, so I doubt that. But second year of a cycle, you're not going to see weird first time matchups.
Right. Except for
Like
this one for some reason.
Hamden Oceanside technically yes. No, wait, no, they played when they were A.
Yeah, they would have played in there.
Maybe I could look that up. They might. No, they did once because Oceanside knocked them off in the tournament that first year.
But they probably played in the regular season when Oceanside was in A North.
They may have.
I know Madomic did.
I don't know.
Because
Yes, they played Madomic. Yeah.
Yeah, I went up there for that.
So
and the concession stand was closed.
At Hamden.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I seem
That
to
isn't
that.
for a girls' game.
Yeah, it would have been a girls' game.
Yeah, that was unfortunately frequent. Boosters, they couldn't get enough boosters to open it. Something weird.
That's always. I'm in some of these groups, and you always see the thing. We're not going to have concessions for this. Someone needs to volunteer, and then someone will volunteer.
Yeah, I will say concessions. Old Town Athletic Boosters. The mac and cheese yesterday was phenomenal.
Okay, so
and
what's your favorite? What are the best concession places for basketball? Would you say?
Brewer. Because they take card.
Oh.
Yep.
Interesting.
And one time at Brewer, The girl there was asking random people, because no one was saying yes, if they wanted nacho cheese on their popcorn. And me being ridiculous, saying, okay. And I had that, and that was phenomenal.
Not okay. Wait,
Yep.
nacho cheese on your popcorn.
Yes.
Well, this is interesting. Okay,
It
I
was
might have to
worth
try
it.
this year.
Yeah. Just straight up go to random concession stand. I want popcorn with nacho cheese on it. And
I could
I
pull that
want to
off.
see
I
what happens.
know. So my brother will put nacho cheese on his hot dog,
I've seen
and
that. It's more like a chili
yeah,
dog style.
it's
Yeah.
kind of a chili dog thing. So he could probably get the nacho
Mm-hmm.
cheese on the popcorn without them batting an eye.
Yep.
I like this.
So, Old Town boosters have crock pots of whatever they have on a
Yeah,
given night.
I
So
like the crock
that's
pots.
good. I went up, I've never had bad popcorn. I've had mediocre popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Burned popcorn, maybe.
burned popcorn, but you can smell that. If you can
Yeah,
smell
yeah.
that walking in, just avoid it. So use your senses. But prices now, jeez. I mean, I'm not going to get into the economics of athletic booster clubs, but I'm not spending $3 on a can of Diet Coke
Yeah, that's a little
or
ridiculous.
Pepsi, let alone Diet Pepsi. You can't.
Oh,
More.
I have the problem where
Yeah.
during the pandemic, learned that I'm gluten intolerant or whatever, and so it makes it very
Yep.
hard to do concession stand food. It's an
Well, the problem is
adventure.
if I'm at a game working, I'm usually getting there around 5, so I can't
Mm-hmm.
eat beforehand. By the time I'm out of there, you know,
Yeah.
I got to eat something there.
At the
So
expo,
it's
I used to have
usually
to bring food because I can't eat
yeah.
anything at the expo, and I'm there all day.
The Expo didn't have popcorn when I was there,
Oh,
which is I think totally disqualifies them as a tournament venue.
I think it should. I think it should. I still think we should get food trucks because they had food
Yes,
trucks
like
at
Fitzy.
Fitzpatrick. Yeah, it was amazing. Very distracting because they all smelled
Could
great.
you imagine at the Augusta Civic Center, instead of having all that concessions there, they just lined up 3 food trucks on that end?
Those concessions are good though at the Civic Center.
Okay. I will say Augusta Civic Center popcorn is the winner.
Is it okay?
Okay, it
I
was the
liked the fingers
perfect.
and fries
You get your
when I could
money's
eat
worth there
them.
too.
When I could eat them, when I eat that,
Yeah,
and they have a big salad. I think that's pretty good.
salad soups and such, whatever this giant sign
Yeah,
says.
yeah, the salads are pretty good.
We were making fun of that on air. Uh, like, what is the and such?
It's
We'll send Jay down to get a live report.
yeah, there you go.
No, but yeah, we're on the gym diet, which is just popcorn every
Okay.
night.
That's a good diet.
We'll see. What frustrates me is gyms that restrict what you can bring in.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I don't like that.
we only allow in water and popcorn, and I'm just like, really? You're worried about making a mess, and you're going to allow popcorn?
Yeah, popcorn's the worst one. And then like I don't want to stand in the cafeteria and eating a hot dog or whatever.
No.
Like, that's just weird.
So
All right, we are approaching 2 hours on this.
yeah, this is
So
ridiculous.
I'm gonna ask you a final question because I ask
Yes.
everybody this question.
Mhm.
Okay, so they give you unlimited power at the MPA for one
Yep.
day. You can do whatever you want. What do you do?
Oh man, I don't want to do Mike Bisson dirty. Uh,
I've had some
so
interesting answers to this.
what I would do, and I advocated this before, if we're
Mhm.
keeping 5 classes,
Okay.
okay, you make AA 1 division, okay,
Yes, I agree.
because it is.
Makes sense.
You can call the divisional championships, whatever they call it in hockey and some of these sports, they have one region, but they call the semifinals divisional championships.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. If they want to give the plat, great, do that. But you have to take the other 4 classes, and you have to balance them out,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And what 14, 15 schools, and a lot of what was prevented that is schools would be moved away from their traditional tournament site. Who's to say you can't move the tournament sites around? So I was, and I don't know how the numbers would work out, but last
It would be
cycle
tricky.
it would be tricky. But if you did what I just said, you had a legitimate argument with the A North tournament to Bangor.
Mm-hmm.
And that would just be my dream, and totally unbiased.
Yeah.
So I would do that. And you'd probably move B South back to Augusta because that seems to be more of a better fit than Portland.
Mm-hmm.
I know you like your drive up 17 a lot better
The
than
drive, yeah, that's a nice drive.
yeah. It's
6 of one, half dozen the other for going to Portland
right,
or Augusta for me.
right. So I would do that. Um, I would add the restricted circle,
Mm-hmm.
and I am not gonna go with the shot clock because I am a man of chaos. Here's my only reason: would it make the game better? I concede that point, but I love outrage. I love chaos, and I love watching a team try to hold the ball for 4 minutes and shorten the game and just see two sides of a gym just go absolutely crazy in different ways. I just find it, I'm just agent of chaos, and I'll
I
lean
could
into that.
argue that chaos is unlimited and ever respawning, and that if we had a shot clock, there would be a new thing that would replace the anger and the chaos
Yeah.
that you love so much. You know, like trying to figure out if they beat the shot clock or not,
Oh my god.
because now we only have a buzzer beater like at the end of the game, but now we've got a bunch of buzzer beaters all throughout the game.
Well, let me just say this, and I'll play a little devil's advocate there. There's always going to be the argument, well, who's going to run it?
Mm-hmm.
And, considering the boys' varsity game, we had a band director on the microphone and the principal running the clock yesterday. Staffing can be an issue,
Sure.
but we'll see. I mean, I'm at the point where I'm indifferent with it. When I was younger, I really wanted it because I thought it looked cool.
It
That's it.
does look cool. Yeah.
Everyone should have red lights in their gym too.
Yeah. The red lights are fun.
Yeah. No other. I mean, yeah, they actually have a functional purpose, but it looks cool. That's all I care about. The
I
kids
still
like it.
think, and I'm going to keep advocating for this, that if we just say we're going to turn the shot clocks on for the tournament, and if you want to have shot clocks during the regular season, go nuts. A lot of teams are going to find the money for a shot clock real fast.
Yeah, I wonder if other states actually do that. Because
I
you're
think
always
that's
going
a
to get the argument.
I think that's a great plan,
So
because then you've got an advantage to have the shot clock during the season. If you've got any aspirations of being good in the tournament, you're going to want to play with the shot clock all year. And if you're, North Haven, you don't care.
that's one place I do want to go. I don't know if I can get out there for a Tuesday at 11
Oh,
or
for a
whenever they
game.
would play. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been to Vinyl Haven. I worked on a film in Vinyl Haven,
Okay.
and it was in February, and I've never been so cold in my life.
Yeah.
We were
I'm on the
outside
fence.
on the water in a
Yep.
rainstorm, freezing rain, and it was brutal.
Nice. I'm on the fence because I go up to the county. There's only 2 games in the county on Friday.
Really?
Like Easton goes to Ashland for a doubleheader, and I'm on the fence. Do I go to Ashland?
I've never been to Ashland. Where is that? That's like on the border,
It's
isn't
like
it?
no, it's west of Presque Isle.
Okay.
It's on Route 11.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
So,
Wisdom's on the border, right?
they're up in the
Who's on
valley.
the
They're kind of on the border.
Who am
Van
I
Buren's on the
thinking of that's
border.
on the Van Buren? Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Van Buren's right on the border. Of course, Madawaska and Fort
Right.
Kent. But no, Wisdom is Frenchville, Senegat. So
Okay.
kind of tucked south of Madawaska, but east of Fort Kent. And that was a bunch of schools that almost merged but didn't, which seems to be a trend of the past 10 years.
Yeah.
So
I might. I'm trying to talk. I'm trying to figure out a way to get to a Southern Heuristic game this year.
yeah, that's kind of the closest one for me besides Katahdin. And maybe I gotta see the I gotta go watch the Katahdin boys. Apparently
Yeah,
because
for
they're really
Adam.
good, right, Adam? I listened to that. I'm just like, that's like way okay. Why should we
Oh, it's
take
a
that in the
surprise.
second round?
I think that went well. I think that was a fun exercise.
I learned a lot.
There you go.
So I think it was entertaining enough. I had it on in the background doing. I had it on
built
live.
this. I built a scoreboard for it,
I
so
noticed.
I can
I
put it in the
watched you.
newsletter.
Yeah. And you had that on live. Yeah, I don't
No,
remember
I
what I
built
was
an
doing.
actual scoreboard for the thing.
Oh yes, yeah. I did see that.
Did you see that? Okay.
Yeah, I
I
did.
wanted to
Yeah.
upload it into the thing. Yeah, so I think that's gonna be fun. We'll see. All right, we should wrap this up.
Yeah. It
Tell
was fun.
everybody. Thank you for doing this. This has been very fun.
Yep.
People are gonna see the time of this in their feeds, in their podcast feed, and go, "What?"
Yeah. Well, we've been waiting years to do this too. So
That's true. That's true. Yeah, this is a good
Yeah.
idea. Adding a podcast to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell everybody all the places they can find you this winter.
So Twitter's dead, so don't find me there.
Are you on Blue Sky yet?
No, I probably just won't.
Oh, all right.
I probably just you probably need one. You need a login to get in on that or stuff like that.
Probably.
I don't know. I just don't like social media because I'm really good at scrolling through my phone, and that's probably not the best thing for me.
Probably not.
So yeah, I mean, you're gonna see me, at least in the greater Bangor area, probably somewhere, any given night. Lots of brewer. Obviously up at Mackenzie Gym most nights, either talking into a microphone or providing permanent hearing loss for everyone in there. When you have a band that's probably too big for the gym, around there, and then come tourney time, you'll see me hopefully at the table again, with the tickets. So lots of different stuff, and come and say hi because this is the best time of the year.
It's the best time of the year.
It's always 75. It's always 75 and sunny in a gym.
Yeah, that's true. So there's shirts going around on like Etsy. It says my favorite season is basketball season. Or basketball is my favorite season.
Yep.
Which
I have a shirt that just says, I wear it as a joke, that just says football, and I wear that watching football. I need a shirt that just says basketball.
You need that shirt. You need to add Rob Lowe's hat. His NFL
I do have
hat.
I have that hat. I wear that with my football shirt.
Yeah, that's the only way you get. That's how you have to do that.
So, no, that'd be great. I found my no dunking shirt the other day.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna go on the wall. Because I don't know why I bought a medium of a cotton shirt. So that will no longer be.
I have been known to buy a medium, thinking to myself, this will be motivation to run more. It never works.
It's cotton, so I mean I'm right in between, and it just it depends on the cut and the time of year.
Yeah.
So
those were fun shirts.
Yeah, how long ago was that? 5 years now?
That was a while
Pre-COVID?
ago. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Getting old.
That was pre-Cooper.
So and pre-COVID, yeah.
Pre-COVID, yeah. Yeah. That was when nobody knew who I was. And Travis Lee wore a shirt on TV.
Yeah.
And I only had the one. Because it was, one of those direct ship things.
Yeah.
I only had the one that I got for myself. And he was like, I want to buy a shirt and wear it on TV. So I was like, okay, we can have this one. And it happens to be the right size. And he came up to Waldoboro to get it.
That's awesome.
And no one knew who I was at that point.
Because I didn't actually
who I was.
I didn't meet you face to face until I probably was the 2020 tournament right before the world ended. I think that was the first time you and I actually met face to face.
Yeah,
so,
that sounds right.
Yeah, because that was that double Hamden run. So
yeah, because I would see for a while. I would see you over doing the band stuff, but I didn't have credentials.
Right.
And so it was like getting over there is a whole thing.
I love how there was a stretch where you just didn't have credentials.
Yeah, for a while. I just didn't have credentials. I think Don Shield is the reason I have credentials. Because I think he gave people shit about it. And was like, get the kid credentials. I was getting tickets from boosters and stuff. Passes that they would give. They'd get so many passes and I'd get a couple. And then I'd buy a couple tickets.
That's crazy. It wasn't long ago, really, in the grand scheme of things, too.
Yeah.
So I just pretend that I'm important. And it's gotten me this far.
Way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I went to a football game and Mike Burnham like dapped me up. So look how far we've come.
There you go. I didn't see
Crazy.
Burnham this year at soccer. It's up Bisson quite a bit
Yeah, I think I saw
out there.
Bisson at a soccer. I don't really know
Regional
him
and
that well.
well, he was my AD.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. So
There you go. Okay, that's the show. See, I told you that was going to be a lot. There was a lot there. Thanks, Jay, for doing that. Again, we'll have to do a part 2 sometime, another 2 hours. This week, I think I might bring back the live stats for the regular season. I haven't decided if I want to do that. I'm having trouble deciding what I want to do when I'm at games, and do I want to really do stats or do I want to get a video? Yeah, it's a whole thing. So anyway, I might bring live stats back. If I do, it will be this week. There's a couple big games in the Midcoast. There's the Madomic Oceanside doubleheader, which I'll definitely be at, and then Spruce is coming to Madomic, so I'll probably go to that, and then find something else on at least one of the other days. I'm trying to not be going to. I'm trying to not go to the same 3 teams 15 times this year, and try to stretch it out a little bit and get out further. But you got to go like 45 minutes from my house to get beyond those 3 or 4 teams. That makes it a little trickier. So I kind of just rely on seeing who they're going to play, and it just makes it easier. Anyway, that's the show. This has been a production of MaineBasketballRankings.com, your source for the most comprehensive coverage of Maine high school basketball from Ashland to York and everywhere in between. This podcast is available wherever you listen to podcasts and a bunch of places you don't. If you enjoy this, please leave a nice review because it really does help out with algorithms. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. Thanks for listening.